The silent truth, the psychology of unspoken desire. The most powerful form of attraction is often the one that is never spoken into existence. It exists in a hidden layer of human interaction, a silent truth that remains tucked away behind the social masks people wear every day. You have to understand that for a woman, especially one who is already in a relationship or has a public image to maintain, admitting to an attraction like this feels like a betrayal of her own identity. This is why she won't tell her best friend over coffee. She certainly won't tell her boyfriend. And in many cases, she will actively lie to herself about it. She classifies these feelings as forbidden, which immediately pushes them into the basement of her subconscious. But just because something is buried doesn't mean it's dead. In fact, the more she tries to suppress it, the more it begins to leak out through her biology. This isn't a calculated move or a game she's playing. It is a raw, instinctive pull that completely bypasses her logical brain. Before she can even form a thought like, I shouldn't feel this, her nervous system has already reacted. The reason most men walk through life completely oblivious to these moments is that they are trained to look for the big sell. They expect a woman to flirt loudly, to touch them boldly, or to make some grand, undeniable gesture of interest. But when the attraction is forbidden, a woman's primary instinct is protection, protecting her reputation, her current bond, and her peace of mind. She isn't going to hand you a map, she's going to give you micro signals. These are tiny 2-second windows where the weight of her self control becomes too heavy to hold, and for a fleeting moment, her guard drops. In that split second, she isn't the girlfriend or the professional. She is simply a human being reacting to a magnetic force. If you aren't calibrated to see these emotional slips, you will mistake her tension for coldness or her subtle glances for mere politeness. You have to learn to see the person behind the persona. It is vital to realize that this phenomenon is not about home wrecking or encouraging toxic behavior. It is about an honest, unfiltered look at human psychology. We like to pretend that once someone signs a marriage license or enters a committed relationship, their biology suddenly switches off. But that is a lie we tell to feel secure. The reality is that physics doesn't care about social contracts, and chemistry doesn't check for a wedding ring before it ignites. A woman can be deeply loyal. She can be a good person by every societal standard, and she can genuinely love her partner. And yet, she can still feel a powerful, undeniable pull towards someone else. This is the duality of the human experience. Loyalty is a choice, but attraction is a reaction. One is a product of the mind, while the other is a product of the blood and the nerves. If you want to truly understand the depth of how women experience desire, you have to stop listening to what they say and start watching how they react. Words are the tools of the logical mind. They are filtered, edited, and approved by the ego before they ever leave the mouth. Tension, however, is honest. Tension is found in the way the air in the room changes when you walk in. It's in the way she holds her breath for a beat too long, or the way her eyes track you across a crowded space when she thinks no one is looking. This is the deeper psychological reality. Desire doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for her to be single, and it doesn't care if the timing is wrong. By acknowledging this silent truth, you aren't looking to cause chaos. You are gaining a high level understanding of the invisible forces that govern human connection. You are learning to read the music, not just the lyrics. 1. The emotional slip, when the mask cracks. The first and most revealing sign of forbidden attraction is what we call the emotional slip. To understand this, you have to realize that every woman who is already in a relationship walks through the world with an invisible emotional shield. This shield is her default setting. It's the mental barrier she uses to maintain her loyalty, protect her partner, and keep her social image intact. Under normal circumstances, this shield is airtight. She interacts with other men in a way that is polite, professional, and completely safe. But when a genuine, forbidden attraction enters the equation, that shield starts to fail. It doesn't shatter all at once in a dramatic explosion. Instead, it develops tiny hairline cracks. These cracks appear because her subconscious desire is constantly fighting against her conscious responsibility. This is the moment where her curiosity finally beats her self control. And for a few seconds, the woman you are talking to isn't the committed girlfriend. She is a woman who is deeply, viscerally interested in you. You'll see this slip most clearly in the way she communicates. Most people engage in surface level ping pong conversation, meaningless small talk about the weather or the office. But an emotional slip sounds different. She will ask you a personal question that feels heavy with intent. It's not a casual, "How was your weekend?" It's a question that probes into your values, your past, or your private world. You'll notice a specific warmth in her voice and a weight in her words that shouldn't be there if she were just being friendly. It feels like she is leaning into your personal space with her mind. She is looking for a connection, a hook, or a reason to understand you better. In these moments, her social filter has temporarily malfunctioned, and she is giving you a direct line to her emotional investment. She is reaching for you through the conversation, trying to bridge the gap between acquaintance and something much more intimate. However, the most undeniable part of the emotional slip isn't actually the slip itself, it's the recovery. This is the telltale sign that separates simple friendliness from forbidden attraction. After she asks that deep question or shares that warm moment, she will have a sudden, wait a minute, realization. Her logical brain will kick back in, screaming that she's shown too much interest or crossed an invisible line. Watch her body language in the seconds immediately following a deep interaction. She will often physically pull back, look away, or suddenly change the subject to something incredibly mundane to reset the vibe. She might even become slightly formal or distant for a few minutes as a defense mechanism. This emotional whiplash, moving from deep warmth to sudden correction, is the proof that she felt the tension and is now terrified of how obvious it was. She is trying to put the mask back on because she knows for a split second she let it slide. Beyond the words, you have to look for the unfiltered, involuntary reactions that her mind hasn't had time to edit. Genuine attraction is impossible to stage perfectly. You'll see it in a laugh that is a little too loud or a little too genuine, the kind of laugh that bypasses her polite social laugh and comes from her gut. You'll see it in a gaze that lingers just a heartbeat too long, past the point of casual eye contact. But perhaps the most powerful indicator of an emotional slip is the data storage. If she remembers a tiny, trivial detail you mentioned weeks ago, something like your favorite obscure brand of coffee or a random story about your childhood, it means her brain has categorized you as important. We don't store trivial data about people we don't care about. If she is filing away the small details of your life, she is already mentally and emotionally invested in you far more than she is allowed to admit to the world. Her mind is subconsciously building a profile of you, even while her mouth is claiming she's just being nice. The magnetic shift, the gravity of attention. To master the psychology of attraction, you must first understand one cold, hard truth. Attention is the real currency of desire. It is the most valuable thing a woman can give. And when her attraction is forbidden, she will try to spend it in secret. This leads to the magnetic shift, a phenomenon where her focus, her energy, and her awareness begin to orbit around you like a planet around a sun. Even if she is standing right next to her partner, playing the role of the devoted girlfriend to perfection, her internal compass is pointing directly at you. She can control her words and she can control her physical distance, but she cannot control where her mind naturally gravitates. It is a psychological pull that operates on a level much deeper than politeness. It is her brain identifying you as a high value stimulus that she physically cannot ignore. You will feel this shift the moment you walk into a room. You don't even have to look at her to know she's aware of you. This isn't some mystical energy, it's a biological hyper awareness. When a woman is secretly into you, her selective attention system kicks into overdrive. This means her brain begins to filter out the background noise of the world and even the words of her own partner just to prioritize your signal. She will hear your laugh from across a crowded, noisy bar before she hears the person standing 2 feet in front of her. She will sense your movement in her peripheral vision, tracking your location in the room with the precision of a radar. This creates a palpable tension, a heavy feeling in the air that exists because her focus is locked on you while she is simultaneously trying to act like she's looking at anything else. The most revealing part of this magnetic shift is what we call forbidden looks. Because she's trying to protect her image, she isn't going to stare at you with open longing. That would be too obvious and too risky. Instead, she will use quick, instinctive glances that are over in a fraction of a second. The telltale sign isn't just the look itself, it's the velocity of the look away. If you catch her eyes, she won't hold the gaze with a smile. She will snap her head back to her original task as if she's just been caught doing something illegal. This stolen eye contact is a reflex. Her desire wants to look, but her fear of being exposed forces her to look away. It's a constant loop of attraction and suppression, a silent back and forth that proves you have captured her attention in a way she can't logically justify. As this magnetic pull grows, she transitions from a casual acquaintance into a quiet observer of your entire world. She begins to notice the small, granular details that an uninterested woman would never even register. She'll mention a new watch you're wearing, a slight change in how you styled your hair, or even a subtle shift in your mood that you haven't told anyone about. This happens because her brain is essentially mapping you. She is collecting data, studying your patterns, and becoming an expert on your behavior without ever having a formal conversation about it. When a woman starts catching the small changes in your energy or appearance while she's supposed to be focused on her own life, it's a massive red flag of hidden interest. She is investing her most precious resource, her focus, into you. And that kind of investment only happens when there is a deep, underlying spark she's trying her hardest to hide. 3. The physiological betrayal, when the body speaks the truth. The third and perhaps most undeniable sign of forbidden attraction is what we call the physiological betrayal. This is the point where her biology completely overrides her social mask. You have to understand that while a woman can be an expert at crafting a logical story or keeping her words professional, she has almost zero control over her autonomic nervous system. When you are near and that forbidden spark is present, her emotional voltage spikes. Her body enters a state of heightened arousal, not necessarily sexual, but a state of high alert energy. Her heart rate increases, her breathing patterns shift, and her brain begins to flood her system with chemicals like adrenaline and dopamine. Because she is in a situation where she cannot act on these feelings, that energy has nowhere to go. It becomes trapped, and it has to leak out through her movements. This is why you will see her engage in self soothing gestures. She might absent mindedly spin a ring on her finger, tug at her earring, smooth her hair repeatedly, or touch the base of her neck. These aren't just random habits. They are unconscious attempts to calm her own nervous system and stabilize the internal tension she's feeling in your presence. To read this correctly, you have to look for the paradoxical reaction. This is a psychological phenomenon that confuses most men because it looks like the exact opposite of attraction. Sometimes, when a woman feels an overwhelming pull toward you that she knows she shouldn't feel, she will suddenly act colder, stiffer, or more distant than usual. Most men see this and think, she hates me or she's not interested. But in reality, this is manual suppression. She has realized that her heart is racing and her palms are sweating, so she is desperately trying to overcorrect by building a wall of silence or formality. She is literally trying to freeze her body in place so it doesn't betray her. If you notice a woman who is usually bubbly and warm suddenly turn robotic or overly serious the moment you step into her personal space, she isn't rejecting you. She is fighting a war against her own chemistry. She is trying to manually override a system that is currently screaming in your direction. And that level of effort only happens when the attraction is powerful enough to be dangerous to her status quo. This betrayal extends into her physical carriage and posture in ways that are entirely involuntary. When she is near you, she will become hyper aware of her own body, even if she's trying to focus on a conversation with someone else. You'll see her spine straighten, her shoulders move back, or her head tilt slightly to the side. Unconscious display behaviors that are hardwired into human evolution. She might find herself leaning into your space, even while her words are claiming she needs to leave. It's as if her body is a compass needle and you are the North Pole. No matter how much she tries to spin the compass, the needle eventually settles back on you. These aren't choices she is making after careful thought. They are primal, biological responses written into our DNA long before modern dating or social rules existed. Finally, keep a close eye on the micro tensions in her face and eyes. Because she is under pressure to hide her feelings, you'll see flashes of internal conflict. Her pupils may dilate when she looks at you, a reaction controlled by the sympathetic nervous system that is impossible to fake. She might bite her lip or have a slight flutter in her eyelids when you make eye contact. These are the glitches in the matrix. No amount of logic, loyalty, or social pressure can fully delete these chemical signatures. She can tell herself 1,000 times that she doesn't feel anything, but as long as her body is reacting with nervous energy, fidgeting, and postural shifts, the truth is sitting right on the surface. Her words are the lie she tells the world. Her physiology is the truth she can't help but tell you. 4. Restrained jealousy, the unspoken territory. The fourth sign is perhaps the most revealing of all because it is the hardest to fake: restrained jealousy. Jealousy is a primal, high stakes emotion that strips away social politeness and reveals exactly where a person's heart is invested. Under normal circumstances, a woman who is just a friend or a casual acquaintance won't blink an eye if you start flirting with someone else or if another woman enters the conversation. She has no skin in the game. But when there is a forbidden attraction simmering under the surface, her reaction changes completely. Because she is often in a position where she cannot openly claim you, her jealousy has nowhere to go. She can't throw a tantrum, she can't pull you away, and she can't demand your attention. Instead, that possessive instinct gets compressed into a freeze response. The moment another woman enters your orbit, you will see her entire demeanor shift. Her expression might harden for a split second, her laughter might cut off abruptly, and her focus will sharpen with a sudden predatory intensity. She is scanning the situation, not because she wants to, but because her subconscious mind has already marked you as her territory, even if she knows, logically, that she doesn't actually own it. This jealousy is restrained because she is hyper aware of the eyes on her. She knows that making a scene would expose the very secret she is trying to hide, so she resorts to a series of subtle, high level tactical moves. You'll notice her becoming an innocent investigator. She'll wait for a gap in the conversation and then ask a question that sounds casual on the surface but feels heavy with hidden intent. She'll say something like, "So, how do you know her?" Or, "Is she a new friend of yours?" While the words seem harmless, the tone behind them is tight, clipped, and lacking its usual warmth. She is fishing for data. She wants to know the threat level of this other woman. She is looking for reassurance that your attention hasn't permanently shifted. In her mind, every second you spend looking at someone else is a second you aren't feeling the attention with her. And that loss of connection stings her far more than she would ever admit. The most fascinating part of this dynamic is the reclamation phase. Once the threat, the other woman, leaves the immediate area, the woman with the forbidden attraction will often undergo a sudden and dramatic shift in energy. She will move to reclaim the space you were just sharing. This might look like her becoming unexpectedly warmer, more talkative, or more physically present than she was 5 minutes ago. She might lean in closer, drop her voice to a more intimate whisper, or use a callback to an inside joke you two share. This is a subconscious marking of the territory. She is trying to reestablish the bond and remind you of the unique chemistry between the two of you. It's her way of washing away the influence of the other woman and pulling your focus back to where she feels it belongs. Finally, watch for the mirroring of distance. If she feels like she can't win your attention back, or if she feels too exposed by her own jealous reaction, she might do the opposite and go completely silent. She'll pull back, become distant, and act as though she is suddenly very busy with her phone or another conversation. This isn't because she's bored, it's because she's hurt. She is experiencing the sting of jealousy, but has no legal right to express it, so she withdraws into a shell of protection. This emotional volatility, moving from cold observation to warm reclamation, is a massive red flag of hidden desire. It proves that you are not just another face in the crowd to her. You are someone who has the power to disrupt her emotional peace. And in the world of attraction, that power is everything. She is guarding a territory she knows she shouldn't claim, but her heart refuses to let go of the perimeter. 5. Selective vulnerability, the emotional doorway. The final and most profound sign of forbidden attraction is selective vulnerability. In the world of human psychology, vulnerability is not a weakness, it is a doorway. It is the most sacred currency a woman possesses, and she is incredibly disciplined about who she lets through that door. Under normal circumstances, a woman who is committed to a partner keeps her emotional world clean. She shares her deep fears, her private frustrations, and her nostalgic childhood memories with her partner or her closest circle of friends. But when a forbidden attraction takes hold, her emotional boundaries begin to shift in your direction. She starts offering you emotional access that she shouldn't logically be giving to anyone but her partner. This doesn't happen by accident. It happens because she feels a specific, irresistible pull toward you that makes her crave resonance. She isn't just talking to you, she is leaning on you, handing you the keys to her internal world, and inviting you to see the parts of her that the rest of the world, and often her own partner, might be missing. You will notice this when the conversation stops being about things and starts being about feelings. She will tell you how her day really went, moving past the surface level politeness she gives everyone else. She might share an insecurity about her career, a secret dream she's been harboring, or a memory from her past that feels uncharacteristically personal. This is a massive psychological indicator. By sharing these fragments of her soul, she is creating an emotional vacuum that only you can fill. She is testing the waters to see if you understand her on a level that feels different from her current reality. What makes this forbidden is the context. She might still go home to her partner every night. She might still post photos of them together. But in the quiet moments with you, she is giving you her mind. She is essentially creating a private emotional island where only the two of you exist. And that kind of intimacy is often a much stronger bond than anything physical. The tell for this sign is found in the atmospheric shift. Watch how her energy changes when the conversation turns personal.